Hi, it's Leanne of Body Shop Performance. Welcome to part 2 of my story. So if you're sitting comfortably and you've watched part 1, I'll take you through the next stage. So we're going back about 10 years. In fact, the exact date is Friday, the 23rd of March, 2012. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Just to put that date into context for you, George Osborne on that day had just announced he was levying VAT on sausage rolls. And it wasn't COVID that was restricting our travel, it was the volcanic ash cloud. So that might help you to place yourself at the scene, as it were. And I was walking down Gracechurch Street in the city towards a meeting on the north side of London Bridge. And I was meeting a guy called Gustav. And Gustav was, I hoped, going to be giving me the good news that a big sale that I was expecting was going to come good. Now, I actually feel quite despondent, quite depressed. I'm drinking too much. I'm several stone overweight. I'm really disenfranchised with what I'm doing. But I'm also a little bit hopeful because I've got the promise of that, or what I hope is the promise of that sale agreement. So I walk into the meeting room, I take off my long woolen coat, and I have a sip from a little vending machine coffee in its squishy brown cup. And I take a sip of that, and I look at Gustav, and he looks at me, and we smile at each other, exchange a few pleasantries, and then he hits me with it. He tells me that the deal I'm expecting, unfortunately, isn't going to happen. His client's pulled out, therefore he doesn't need my data. So I'm gutted because I know this is going to be really tricky for me. And I'm also in the bottom of my stomach thinking, maybe it's time for me to leave. Maybe it's time to do something else. So I leave the meeting, say goodbye to Gustav. I walk across London Bridge. I shrink wrap myself onto the Thameslink train. If any of you have ever got the Thameslink, you'll know exactly what I mean. And I arrive home and I literally stand and look at myself in the mirror. I spent the weekend thinking about what to do next. And then I made the decision to resign, to jump. I sent my resignation in by text on Sunday night. It was accepted Monday morning. And by Friday, I'd handed back my laptop, my pass, my BlackBerry. I literally had nothing to go to. And that was the pivotal point for me because I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But by jumping and then checking I packed a parachute on the way down, it just got me out of a toxic situation and enabled me to start afresh. And if you watched last week, that's where the vegetable comes in. So that's stage 2 of the story. And I'll bring you fully up to speed with what we do now and how I got into that, keyword is cadence, in next week's episode. I'll see you then.